absolutely amazing. So my first question, before we even get into all this wonderful stuff you brought here, is how did you select that destination? What made you want to go into that Mount Pleasant? You're literally in a neighborhood.
Well, to be honest with you, my parents had a former restaurant on Chalkstone Avenue.
Okay.
And I wish I could take the credit for the discovery of the restaurant, but that was my younger brother's find.
Now, this is a family affair, right?
Definitely. So my younger brother and I started the restaurant 9 years ago, and it definitely exceeded what we thought it would be. The first time that we stepped into Los Andes, there was this magical feeling that him and I both felt that, again, I remember walking into the front door and just remember closing my eyes and I had this visual of what it has become and again exceeded what that vision was.
You must have exceeded your expectations at this point.
It definitely has, but at the same time now, I think that we're in the next stage. We're getting ready to take it to the next level, to showcase our true ability to be able to bring better products, better wines, and again, more intricate and more delicate cuisine into our menu.
So I want to talk about all that because truly your restaurant has been a fascination to me, and I've been there on a couple occasions and plan on coming back again hopefully right after Easter. Is that, first of all, Los Andes, the staff is absolutely extraordinary. I can't tell you how much you get pampered there. And I apologize right now, I cannot remember. Your gentleman that handles the wines, he's
Ali.
Ali.
He's a gentleman.
When I tell you, if you go to Los Andes, you have to seek out Ali. Even if you are not a wine person, you have to seek out Ali because he is so knowledgeable, not just on the food, but how to pair the food. And it's not just wine, but he is absolutely amazing. He's someone that I'm actually thinking about bringing Ali back in for. I was talking about earlier. In May is National Wine Day.
Wonderful. He's wonderful.
He's
very
unbelievable. I can't say enough about this gentleman. A great guy. So to be able to go there, your decor, your atmosphere. I didn't get to sit outside yet, but I had friends that did, and I met them there one time. You've got a courtyard that you set up, and I couldn't figure out where the heck the courtyard was behind the houses there.
See, Los Andes is like this magical place. It really is. When you walk into the restaurant, you have this expectation of not too much, to be quite frank with you.
Well, when you drive into the neighborhood, you think it's more neighborhood style.
But speaking of our patio, it feels like you're not on Chalkstone. It feels like you are somewhere in Bolivia or somewhere in Peru. You have the koi pond, and just like you mentioned, one of our most important aspects of the restaurant is the service that we provide to our guests. Making you feel welcome is very important. And that's the primary thing that we seek in the restaurant. Every single one of our team members in the front of the house or even back of the house, they share this love of making people happy. That's our ultimate goal. Not how much money you make or whatever you do, but truly how happy you make somebody.
And we talked a few minutes ago about more of a family affair. And I met your brother, and I want to say once your mom's there.
My mother, my father.
I met your mother once, yeah.
That's the queen of Los Andes, is my mother.
The queen of Los Andes.
She's the queen.
So you got to seek out the queen if you go to Los Andes.
She's phenomenal. I mean, when my parents, my mother, my father helps me do the shopping almost every single day. They come in, our staff always greets them with a hug. Same thing with my mother. Everybody sees them as their own father and mother. They have that love. We welcome everybody to the restaurant, not as much as our customers, but also the staff that we have there. So become part of the family. So, as the family affair, and your brother handles the bar. I met your brother before right hand with you, oversees the bar. He's a great guy. So, from the perspective, where did your training come from? Was it through the family, or different things that you did to get to the level? Well, to be honest with you, I never went to school for culinary. Okay. I'll tell you a quick little story how I became a cook, I guess. I used to work in an Italian restaurant, Bella Restaurant, which is a phenomenal Italian restaurant, by the way. And that was my first job out of the family. Okay. So I remember my first day in the job, I was a busboy, and I climbed a ladder in the front of the house and eventually becoming maitre d' manager in front of the house as well. In a couple of shifts, I would work the back, cleaning lobsters, cutting shrimp. And when we decided to open the restaurant, Omar and I were fighting. He's like, no, I'll be in the front, you'll be in the back. And it eventually came to that. I remember, I'm the older brother, so I wanted to be in the kitchen. And I always loved the hospitality industry, the restaurant business, but I truly fell in love with this business again once I was in that kitchen. So self-taught. Self-taught. You grew up through the industry, basically. But same thing, I was raised in a farm in South America, so I seen the breaking down of animals, the cultivation of products, and that ultimately gives you respect for what you do. You appreciate a tomato, you appreciate a simple chicken or pork or whatever the case may be.
So let's talk a little bit about that because, again, like I had done a Jose's in before this, and they're a Mexican restaurant that all of a sudden show up in Federal Hill, and have been there longer than some of the Italian restaurants at Federal Hill. Los Andes going into this neighborhood is, you have to think about this, is you're bringing a culture to us. You got, from my mind, I remember hearing about you right away, and it just seems like it took off. Has it been an education process for your guests? Because your clientele is wide variety.
It truly has. Our clientele is quite diverse. One of the things that we like to do is truly expose our culture. That's one of our main goals. There's multiple items in the menu that we import. I'll tell you about one of my favorite, most recent dishes. It's called plancha pachamanquera.
Say that one more time.
Pachamanquera, or pachamanca, or pampacos, as they're called. It's a method of cooking underneath the ground. We wanted to bring that to the table. So what we did is we imported stones from Peru, these beach stones from Moranca Beach in Peru. And we seek the fish that comes from Peru. And we brought them together to the United States. And we cooked them. And then it's also complemented by local seafood as well. But to me, the most magical thing that you can provide to a guest is a story.
Absolutely.
So if you have a wine that comes from South America, from Peru, and you're pairing it with a stone that might have been a couple hundred yards away from the vineyard, it creates a story.
You create an experience.
It's an experience, correct. And that's the story that we're trying to tell now is really like showcasing all those little details. To me, that's the most important or the most fascinating thing about my job, is to truly make people experience or feel, especially our service when they walk to the table. We really wanted to show people, we got these stones from Peru and the Amazonian Paiche river fish. So it's to me it's magical. There's nothing better to describe.
You said that word a couple times, and I have to agree 100%. Is that the magical feeling of walking into Los Andes? My very first time going there, I did not know what to expect. And I walked in and I was beyond amazed, beyond satisfied. Food was, I think I was there 2.5 hours, having dinner and everything. It was an absolutely amazing experience. And I've touched upon that today about talking about an education, talking about an experience, and you'll hear experience through probably every segment that I have. But that is something I have to tell you guys have exceeded on. And I think that lends to your popularity of why you stayed so successful here. How old is the restaurant?
It's going to be 10.
10 years old.
10 years old.
10 years old.
And it's been an amazing 10 years. To me, it's been the best 10 years of my life.
Well, you've done amazing. And I want to, let's focus on a little bit. So you brought me some wine here, which is not a bad thing at all. So tell me about the wine.
Sure, this is Las Perdices. It's a Sauvignon Blanc. It's a 2015. This wine is made at 3,000 feet above sea level. And actually, a nice little fact about this wine is actually President Obama, when he visited Buenos Aires last year, this is actually what he drank. And he actually,
if Obama drank it, it's got to be good enough for me.
Right. But again, this Sauvignon Blanc it's a wine that complements ceviche. They go hand in hand.
Perfect for the summer.
Definitely perfect for summer. So,
thank you for joining me again.
No, thank you. It's beautiful. It's beautiful wine.
Absolutely. So talk about the ceviche. What do we have in here?
So what we have here is actually a Borobundi ceviche. This is a ceviche martini. This is actually what I believe made a lot of noise when we first opened. For example, we have beef heart, beef tongue, raw fish, and it was very hard. For example, like the first guest that came to the restaurant, it was we had to give it away.
To get them to try it.
To get them to try it. I remember going up to the table.
Beautiful that is.
Omar and I would take turns. I'll be in the kitchen. He was like, "Oh, I'm backed up. Come to the front." And this is how the restaurant started. It was just him and I, like hustling.
Right.
And remember going up to a table, and I was like, "Hey, do you ever try anticuchos?" To me, anticuchos are beautiful. They're the most tasty piece of meat you can put on a skewer. And I remember talking to the guests, and I was like, "Actually, these are medallions of beef heart." Like, "Excuse me, did you say heart?" And I was like,
they get concerned.
but that's the thing is, anybody can grab a filet mignon,
right?
Put it on the grill with salt and pepper, and it's going to be tender and it's going to be tasty.
Right.
But if you grab a heart of a cow, which is about this big, and you have to trim it, and you have to cut it, and you have to marinate it, and it takes labor to be able to bring out the good qualities of the heart. Or same thing with the beef tongue or the tripe, and so on and so forth. But long story short, we've overcome that already. Where I remember the guests, the first time that they tried it, I was like, just give it a shot. I brought it to the table. It's going to be a little fear factor moment. And I remember the first time they put it in my mouth, oh my God, this is tender. I was expecting it to be, hard or tough.
Yeah, right.
And then that's how it evolved. And same thing, I don't know, we did it with love. I think that's the only way you can describe it is really.
But you guys weren't afraid to take that chance to make those introductions. I mean, that's a big deal to be able to do that, because a lot of places can't succeed because they can't introduce the concept of what they're trying to do, the authenticity of it. And then, in some cases, places go and change their authenticity. They kind of take out the fact of what they're doing to cater to the clientele. You guys have educated the clientele to accept and understand and want to enjoy this.
My true, honest response to that would be, again, it comes down to how welcome you make somebody feel.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things that we achieved at the restaurant, was making somebody feel really welcome.
So what's in the ceviche?
So we have the barramundi, which is actually a fish that we just started using for our ceviche. It's a wonderful fish. It's in the sea bass family.
Okay.
So we have is actually this rocoto pepper that's indigenous to Peru. So the whole thing gets pureed. We have some squid that gets slightly poached. We have our shrimp, and we have the kiwi mussels. We toss everything together with a little bit of garlic. The garlic is pureed. A little bit of fish stock in there. You have the onions, you have the cancha, you have the choclo. So to me, the ceviche is like making a perfect lemonade.
Okay.
So it's balancing acidity, versus sweetness with a lemony, but with salt and garlic. Cilantro is a key factor. Cilantro complements acidity very well, and especially in our Peruvian cuisine that we offer at the restaurant. Lomo saltado always has a little cilantro complementing the acidity from the vinegar.
And I mean, going back to the education standpoint, is that your staff is very knowledgeable. If you're not familiar with the dishes, but you're experimenting, you want to try things, you have to ask. So I'll say this over and again. You got to ask to make sure that you go to it.
I think our staff will be more than happy to explain the dishes. That's one of their favorite parts of the restaurant. Is really giving our guests this welcoming experience.
Well, Chef, thank you so much for joining me today. I greatly appreciate it. I look forward to. We're going to get a picture afterwards, so that when I go to the restaurant, I can show the picture of us, and I'll be okay getting the table. Thank you so much. So, Chef Cerin from Los Andes, very excited that you joined us. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it.